Hey there guys, welcome back. Today I want to talk to you guys about my favorite and least favorite representation of schizophrenia on movies and TV shows. And I want to start by saying I have not seen all of them. The first question people ask me when they meet me and I tell them I have schizophrenia, and I'm not exaggerating, like 90% of the time, people always ask me, have you seen A Beautiful Mind? To answer your question, no, I have not. And there's a reason for that. Eventually here, I want to do reaction videos or live reactions to every movie or TV show that portrays schizophrenia. And there's a lot of them. I know people have sent me clips from like Grey's Anatomy. One of the examples I'm going to talk about today is Criminal Minds. A lot of medical or crime-related shows have episodes about schizophrenia, but there's also movies completely made about the illness. Now, if you've ever been to one of my motivational speaking events or seen me perform comedy, I talk a lot about how bad news, media, movies, and TV shows represent schizophrenia. Very rarely is it in a positive way or even in a factual way. And so I wanted to show you guys my favorite and least favorite representations of schizophrenia right now, and I'm sure I'll update this once I've seen more TV shows and more movies about it, but these are my current favorites. So let's go ahead and get started. So before I get into my favorite representation, I want to just briefly mention my least favorite. As of right now, my least favorite is The Voices, starring Ryan Reynolds. If you guys watch my short content, you've probably already seen this video. Did you guys know that in 2014, Ryan Reynolds played a movie where he was a person living with schizophrenia who also unalived people? I swear I tell people about this movie all the time and no one else has ever seen it. And I got a lot of comments from people being like, this is such a good movie. I actually don't dislike the movie. I think it's a very crazy movie. There's even parts of it where I was like shocked that they put it in a movie. The downside is everyone in the comments were like, oh, you took this too seriously. You took it too literally. No one's gonna think this is an actual representation of schizophrenia. I can tell you based on my own comment section that any representation of schizophrenia, whether it's meant to be exaggerated or truthful, people are going to take seriously. And that's my main issue with it. The movie itself, I actually enjoyed a lot of parts of it. I thought Ryan Reynolds is a great actor. I thought he did a good job. Anna Kendrick played a role in it and she did a good job, but it was just unsettling because I know that people see a movie about a person with schizophrenia who also harms people, and their first reaction is gonna be schizophrenia means violence. And no matter how much we try to inform people that that's not the case, there's already a huge misconception about that. So it makes it really difficult when movies and TV shows are playing into it. And like I said, I don't want to spend too much time talking about this video today because I'm probably going to do a whole video on that movie. And if Ryan Reynolds happens to see that short I made or this video, I want him to know I still love him. No hard feelings. Deadpool's like my favorite movie ever. So anyways, which in the comic books, Deadpool actually has schizophrenia. Anyways, I'm getting very off topic here. My current favorite representation of schizophrenia is actually in the TV show Criminal Minds, and it's one of my all-time favorite TV shows. And I know some people have an issue with Criminal Minds because there are a lot of people in the TV series who are the unsubs or unknown subjects who do harm people because of a mental illness or due to some sort of mental illness like schizophrenia, bipolar, or DID. I do want to emphasize that in the episodes I've seen, they always try to do some sort of disclaimer. Reed, who is my favorite character, often says in the episode where the bad guy has schizophrenia that it's not common for people with schizophrenia to be violent and that it's often triggered by some sort of external factor. Not that fixes it all and makes it okay. Now, that being said, there are episodes where people with mental illness are the unsubs or unknown subjects who harm people because of their diagnosis. They are really good about the characters pointing out that that is uncommon for someone with that illness to do something like that. They often mention that people with mental illness are more common the victims of violent crime than the perpetrators. So that doesn't make it okay. I'm just saying they do mention that at least in every episode about schizophrenia, but the portrayal I'm talking about isn't one of the characters. There's a few different episodes about schizophrenia that I'm going to react to later on. The character I want to talk about is Diana Reed. Diana Reed is the mother of Spencer Reed, who is one of the main characters. He's a part of the BAU, which is the Behavioral Analysis Unit, and that's who the TV show surrounds. The reason I love Diana Reed's portrayal is it's not exaggerated. It is a spitting image of a person who is living with paranoid schizophrenia. And the reason I say that so confidently is some of you might know, some of you might not. Not only do I have diagnosed schizophrenia, I was raised by a mother with schizoaffective disorder. If you don't know what schizoaffective disorder is, it's a combination of schizophrenia and a mood disorder, usually bipolar. And when I was growing up, we didn't have a lot of answers or information about my mom's diagnosis, what it was, what it looked like, how to properly take care of someone with that diagnosis. And so at a very young age, I became a caregiver for my mom with schizoaffective disorder. And I learned very quickly growing up what the illness looks like, how it can affect people negatively, and what hallucinations and delusions look like when people are having them. And so it was a really confusing, scary time for us, but people always paint schizophrenia as like this violent disorder. And I was being raised by a person with this diagnosis, and when I started learning about it, and all I had ever heard about schizophrenia was, you know, people on the news who had committed horrible acts, or people on TV shows who were villains because of a diagnosis, I assumed that it was a violent disorder, and that, you know, because of it, you know, people with that diagnosis were probably going to hurt themselves or others. And what I realized after my mom got diagnosed was most of the time, and I've seen this to be true in my own diagnosis and the peers that I've been able to meet through my journey, a lot of the times people with schizophrenia are scared and confused. If you're delusional like I was, or hallucinating like I was, it's so hard to know what's going on. It's impossible to recognize what is real and what is not. And that's very scary. It's very confusing, especially when you go your whole life living normal and then all of a sudden you have all these symptoms. And my mom, she was afraid and she was confused, but she was still my mom. She was still there, especially when she started taking medication and going through treatment. We could see her kind of coming back, you know, and she was able to communicate again and able to be humorous. I get a lot of my humor and my dark humor from my mom, and like when I joke about my schizophrenia, when I do stand-up comedy, a lot of that comes from her. So there was one scene specifically in Criminal Minds that made me think of Mama Green so much, and I'm gonna play it here quick.
Dr. Norman gave me permission to sleep on the couch in your room tonight, if it's all right with you.
If anyone tries to keep him in here any longer, I'll scratch your eyes out.
One night only.
Helps if they think you're crazy. They don't argue.
And this makes me laugh every time, because when I first saw this, I was like, that is my mom. Diana Reed, played by Jane Lynch, portrayed this so perfectly. And this is just one of the many scenes. And this is a scene where she's medicated. You can tell she's having a pretty good day. And I loved that, because I was like, that was 100% my mom. The humor, despite living with a severe illness like schizophrenia. And my mom, you know, despite everything she went through, she was there for us all the time. She cared about us no matter what. And after my diagnosis, I remember a specific moment where I told her about it, and I was like so afraid. I'm like, I just don't want to be institutionalized. I don't want to be locked away. And she looked right at me and she's like, if they take you, they're gonna have to take me too. And I'll never forget that moment, because I was so upset. I had just gotten the diagnosis. I was so overwhelmed. I was so upset. I was just starting to take medication and getting some clarity. And she just made me feel so safe and so much better, despite still struggling herself. And this is just one of the many scenes that Diana Reed is featured in. But I think it's so important, because the other scenes where you see her and she's not doing well and she is struggling with symptoms, it's not exaggerated. It's not like she's trying to hurt anyone. She's confused, she's frustrated, she's scared, and you can see it. And Jane Lynch is such a good actor. She did this so well. And I love every minute of this character, because it makes me think of my mom. And I think, as of right now, having not seen all of the movies and TV shows about schizophrenia, it is by far my favorite portrayal of schizophrenia in television. And I want to make a short to thanking Jane Lynch, the actress, for doing such a good job at this, because anytime they try to portray schizophrenia, it's done in such a poor way, or the actor or actress really goes out of their way to either scare people about the disorder or glorify the disorder. And this was just perfect in the fact that it was very real. You could see her struggling with the disorder. And throughout the show, you see her journey with, like, she's doing well on medication. They show flashbacks to where she couldn't get out of bed, and Spencer as a child was helping take care of her. And to me was just like unreal seeing the parallels between the show and my life. Not only as a caregiver for someone with schizophrenia, but also as someone who would eventually go on to develop the illness. I highly recommend Criminal Minds if you guys don't already watch it. I am a huge fan of the show. I know a lot of people do have issues with it because of certain portrayals of illnesses and certain people being unsubs because of identities and stuff like that. I understand there is a little bit of controversy with TV shows like this, but that portrayal to me is just so real and it's so perfect. And I do know that later on in the show, Diana Reed goes on to not only have schizophrenia, but she develops Alzheimer's or dementia, one of the two. And I do know that it's statistically common for people with schizophrenia to be at higher rates of diagnosis for Alzheimer's and dementia when they're older. I don't know the exact correlation between that. I'm sure a smarter person can say down in the comments the science behind that, but I do know that is like a common correlation. And so in my opinion, it was really well done, and I'm very excited to see other movies and TV shows that portray schizophrenia. I also know I'm going to do a reaction to a video game called Senua's Sacrifice that someone recommended, where the main character has auditory and visual hallucinations, so I'm gonna check that out too. But my last video was about negative symptoms, and that was one of the things that I think Criminal Minds showed really well with Diana Reed, so props to them for that. If you guys have any TV shows, movies, games, anything at all that you want me to react to regarding schizophrenia, or honestly bipolar disorder, DID, any of these like mental illnesses, let me know down in the comments. I want to do a video of me and a person with DID reacting to Split, because I know there's a lot of controversy on that one. I'm interested to check that out and see what it's all about. But let me know down in the comments what you'd like me to watch and review. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to like and subscribe and turn on those notifications so you know when I'm going live and posting content. We are getting awfully close to 100,000 followers, so I appreciate you guys so much for all the support, and I will be sure to talk to you guys soon. In the meantime, my name's Cody, and don't worry, I'm real.